Things are looking bad for the Spurs. After one of the worst shooting nights we've seen from the team collectively, especially the starters, the Spurs got off to a slow start and couldn't recover in their 106 to 118 loss to the Houston Rockets. We talk about what went wrong and how things can get turned around as the rodeo road trip is almost over for our San Antonio Spurs. What's up, Spurs Digest family? Bryan Colbert here with a Spurs post-game show. What a rough game. Now, the score doesn't look as rough, but if you got to watch this game, you understand the Spurs were never in this game. They got off to an incredibly slow start, and they were not able to recover. Like I said, we're going to talk about all that. But if you haven't yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you click that doorbell to be notified anytime we post, because we want to keep giving you amazing content, and we cannot do this without y'all support. So we appreciate y'all support so much, even through this tough time. Now, y'all know me. I am Mr. Optimism. I'm always going to be that guy that's going to be optimistic about the Spurs because, again, I love hoops, especially Spurs hoops. And I know where the mindset's at, right? Yes, I haven't made a video in about a week or so, but I've stayed locked in. I've seen you guys in the comments, and I know we're on tank mode right now. That's where everybody's on. I do not like that mentality. I hate losing. I hate losing so much. I don't care what it means when it comes to draft picks and stuff like that. I mean, for the number one pick, for like a Wemby pick, that's a different type of feel. But where the Spurs are at right now, I am not in take mode, because to me, it's disrespectful for me to sit here and talk about this team and broadcast about this team and disrespect the players in that manner, because the players and the coaches, I promise you, they are not suiting up and getting out there to lose. I promise you, this is their jobs, this is their well-being, this is their careers. They are not out there to lose. You know what I mean? So I don't want to talk about it as if I'm like hoping for them to lose. Like, I'm sure there's a ton of Spurs fans that see this loss to Houston Rockets and they're like, yep, great job, keep on losing. They see this losing streak and they're happy about it. But I'm just not on that time. I like seeing winning basketball. I like seeing the Spurs win. And I do believe this team is too talented to be a team that's even like in that tank realm. I truly feel we had moved past that. I think we had moved past that before we traded for De'Aaron Fox. Now that we have him, even though Wemby's missing, I'm just not on that tank time. So please forgive me. Tell me, though. Let me hear it. Let me know in the comments, because I know y'all probably going to hate this. I know y'all are on tank time, but I just can't broadcast and analyze these teams in these games with that mindset. Like, I'm not turning on a Spurs game and saying, hey, I really hope the Spurs lose today. Like, that's just not how I operate. I want to see these guys win. I want to see these guys go out and ball. And I still think, even with in losing, there's things you can see from a basketball standpoint where you can say, okay, this is what we're looking for. And that's kind of what I want to talk about here. So let's get into it, because again, like I said, the Spurs got off to a really, really slow start. The Rockets had a 23-7 lead midway through the first. And honestly, they just never let up. And we have talked all season, even when Wemby was still playing, about these slow starts that the Spurs have, and they just do not seem to have the firepower to recover when they get off to these slow starts. We've seen it in certain games where they have been able to recover from a slow start, but I mean, this was rough. I mean, yeah, you know, I was tempted to throw some Rockets highlights on here just to kind of show kind of like the things that were going wrong, but you know, I couldn't do that. Had to show Spurs highlights. So these are some of the few Spurs highlights that there actually was, but I mean, it wasn't a great game. It was not a great game for our Spurs. Again, a very, very slow start. It's tough to recover, especially, I mean, you're missing your star player, right? Like, it's going to be tough to recover from any type of deficit, but that type of deficit, it was tough. And the starters, we talked about a really bad shooting night to start this show. I don't think we've seen our starters shoot like this. I don't think we've seen a performance from our starters like this at all this season, with or without De'Aaron Fox. I don't know if we've seen that. I'm watching this game and I'm wondering, like, man, this just looks rough. And I don't want to make excuses for the guys. However, like, I do think the fans understand what this rodeo road trip is. Like, these guys are gone for a month. I don't think they've played a game in San Antonio since, February 1st was their last game in San Antonio. So, I mean, these guys are gas and drain. I don't want to chalk it up to that. However, it just didn't seem right. It didn't seem like things could get going. De'Aaron Fox was extremely aggressive, but he just could not get the game to come to him. You didn't see the ball move as much as you see from Spurs basketball, right? You didn't see guys setting each other up. It wasn't the type of basketball that we've seen the Spurs play even when they lose. Like, right? Like, you know, a lot of times we've seen Spurs lose, and it's not a lot of blowouts. It's close games we were seeing during the season. You know, with Wemby being gone, it's a whole nother ball game. It's a whole nother monster. But from the Spurs that we know, they are able to keep games close with pesky defense, with good ball movement, with smart decision making. It's when they turn the ball over. It's when they can't hit open shots. That's when we've really seen these Spurs struggle. And it wasn't like a game where they would turn the ball over a lot. Only 8 turnovers. The Rockets actually had more. They won the turnover battle in that sense. But when you can't get your starters going, when you can't get offense going, it really, really hurts. And then you see the Spurs in an instance where they have to really, really rely on their bench. And I honestly don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think while the Spurs are figuring this out, because what this is right now, this was De'Aaron Fox only had 7 points tonight. He shot 1 for 5 from the 3. He was 3 for 12. Now, that's not his worst field goal percentage of the season. However, 7 points is his worst output of this season. He has only scored 10 points or less twice this year. And the last one was like not even a month ago, and I think that was 9 points. So this is a 7-point game. This is the worst we've seen De'Aaron Fox be this season. And I don't say that to beat him down. I say that to say, like, guys, listen, there's optimism here. There's things. This is gonna get better. This De'Aaron Fox is on a new team for the first time, and he is also trying to play without a big man. I mean, you know, this guy's coming. He was used to playing with Sabonis, and then all of a sudden now he comes here. He has Wemby. He gets to see what that's like. Now you try to figure this team out. I mean, if you told me Bismack Biyombo would be the starter for this team or any team at this point in his career, you know, I would probably laugh at you and say that's not a great thing to have. But that is the situation that the Spurs are in. They do not have a lot of depth. As far as bigs goes coming off the bench. And I mean, to me, I think that's why you're seeing it affect De'Aaron Fox more, because really it's like, yo, listen, all eyes are going to be on him. All the attention of the defense is going to be on him. And he's going to have the hardest time maybe ever in his career finding shots and getting shots. But it's going to happen. It's going to come together because, again, De'Aaron Fox is an incredible player. He's an incredible superstar in the NBA. And, like, I truly believe we're going to see him get back to form. It's just going to take time. It's going to take time. These guys are used to getting looks and shots while Wemby is on that court that they just are not getting right now. And again, I understand y'all are on tank mode, so y'all do not want to see this team get it together. But even if you want to see this team lose and you don't want to see it come together, you want to see Fox get comfortable. You want to see him start feeling comfortable with this team looking good, because again, a lot of these pieces that we saw this trade deadline way. A lot of these pieces are still going to be here. And to me, that is like the next thing that you see, right? That is what I look for in a game like this. And that is honestly what kind of made me pretty happy about what we saw from the bench unit and really Stephon Castle. Because to me, Stephon Castle, he came out and showed that, all right, listen, man, I know I'm coming off the bench right now. I know we're losing, but I'm going to still be aggressive, and I'm just going to do whatever I can to just get us back in this game. It's a 12-point loss because of Castle, because of what Castle was able to do in that fourth quarter. Yes, it's garbage minutes. Yes, you're going against, bench players. However, I still want to see my rookie get after it. And maybe that is where the Spurs need to lean more towards now, right? If you're in this position now where you're losing games, you're probably not going to make the play-in, and you're probably honestly not going to get, a top 3 pick. I don't know if I see that happening. These teams that are at the bottom of the NBA are really at the bottom of the NBA. I mean, these teams are 9 wins behind, the Spurs. Like, the Spurs did come off to a solid start. Like, we were really looking at this team being like that 9th seed, 8th seed, or 10th seed, and now, that it's not looking like that. What do you want to see? You want to see Stephon Castle playing. Let these young cats play. I want to see Malachi play. Malachi was a starter at one point. I want to see Blake Wesley get 1 minute. Let's look at these guys that are on this bench that could be a part of the future of this team and see how they fit with De'Aaron Fox. Because now that Wemby is not there, now you really have to say, okay, how do we make this offense of this team center around De'Aaron Fox, make him the focal point while Wemby is away? Because I mean, you never know with these type of injuries. Like, there's gonna be times when we just might, and a guy that size that Wemby is, right? There's gonna be times when we're looking at De'Aaron Fox to be on this court without Wemby at times, leading us, having to win us games. So it's all gonna come together, but I want to see those pieces that are going to be with him next year and the year after that. We know for a fact Stephon Castle, the first round pick, he's here to stay, right? I think he's shown that he is one of the future bright spots of this league. Let the young man play. Let him get out there. I love the aggression. I loved it. Honestly, I think if he would have got more minutes off the rip, I honestly think maybe this whole game would have been a little different. Stephon Castle is such a bright spot to me, and he's another reason why I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk about tanking, because I want to see these guys find success. I want to see Stephon Castle help this team win. I want to see Devin Vassell continue to get comfortable because he was hurt off the rip. Like, I want to see these guys come together and make it happen. I don't know if Harrison Barnes is in the long-term future. I don't know if Chris Paul is in the long-term future. But when you look at the rest of these young cats, the rest of these young guys, you want to see them be able to play. You want to see how they're going to fit around De'Aaron Fox, because that's one piece that you know is going to stay. You don't have Wemby right now. You're not going to have him the rest of the season. But how can you get the most out of these pieces that you did keep, these young guys that you do have? Because, again, their success, too, for all those people watching and tanking, you want to see success of these other guys. Because if you are tanking, if you are trying to do something in this draft, if you are trying to do something in free agency, you need to have assets. You need to have trade assets. So really think about that when you're commenting and saying, like, oh my gosh, I just want us to blah, blah, blah. You do want to see a level of success with this Spurs team as this season ends. Because the more success you see on the court, and I'm not necessarily saying wins, I'm saying success where you see the team compete, and you don't see games like this where they're just out of it in the beginning of the game throughout the end of the game. Like, you don't want to really see that. You want to see the guys compete. You want to see these guys play, because that's going to raise their value. And if you do want to make moves, if you do want to add another piece, if you do want to make a three-headed monster with Wemby, Fox, and insert player here, you're going to need these guys to have as much value as possible, because we've kind of seen that little trade market, how it was. Value for players and superstars is different. Like, I didn't think we'd ever get Fox for what we got him for. So if that's like superstars, we're seeing guys like Fox and Doncic's value, guys off the bench, role players, I mean, you're going to really need to put a nice package together to get what you're looking for. So remember all of these things as we head on to this next game. We have the Memphis Grizzlies coming up. That'll be the final game of this rodeo road trip. And I'm telling you, I have been there for these road trips. They are a grind, man. These guys are gone. They're away. And even their two last home games, that was in Austin. That's a whole nother thing in itself. No, it's not far from San Antonio, but it's not necessarily a home game at home where you're going through your own team, you're going through your own regiment. It's a really different. If anything, it's probably more of a lift for these guys, because they're doing so much in Austin. They're being part of culture. They're doing all these things with the fans. It's actually, it's awesome. It's my favorite time of the year when the Spurs go to Austin, because it's just a whole different vibe, and it's so cool. But it's exhausting, man. This is a lot, and the guys are on the back end of that. So I'm really excited to see this Memphis game. It's going to be a tough one, man. Memphis is rolling too, but Memphis is a team that can lose. Memphis is a team that can make mistakes. They're figuring it out as well, but they are a tough team, and they're going to be a test, much like the Houston Rockets are a test. Houston Rockets are fifth in the West right now. I think actually this win probably put them in fourth. So, like, this is a really tough team that we played against, and this is a really tough circumstance the Spurs find themselves in. They've struggled with injuries all season long, and we've had to watch this. And again, I get it. And y'all let me hear it. I want to know. Like, I understand where y'all coming from when you do say, like, y'all do want to tank, but I'm just not on that time. I don't want to see the Spurs lose, man. I want to see wins. We have De'Aaron Fox now, man. Like, to me, that should be enough for us to be able to find ways to get wins. I want to see it happen. I believe this team can do that. It's just going to take time. And as that time and as Fox gets comfortable, I want to see guys like Castle. I want to see these young guys get a chance to shine, raise their value, and show who can really be a part of the future of this team. This has been a Spurs Digest post-game show. I'm Bryan Colbert here, Mr. Optimism for the Spurs, man. But I'm telling you, I want to see good things. I want to see this season end strong. Let me hear how y'all feeling, man. How are y'all feeling right now? Am I tripping? Am I crazy? Do y'all want to see us lose every single game the rest of the season? How are y'all feeling? Do y'all think that we can really get in the top three, the top five of this, like, draft discussion, this lottery discussion? Like, I'm actually very interested to hear, because like when I look at the standings and I really look at how it breaks down and like what the way the rest of the season is gonna go, I don't know how optimistic I am in the fact that even if we do tank, where that leaves us in the draft as far as our picks concerned. I mean, Atlanta just lost, but Atlanta's, looking like a playing team, possibly in the East. So it's very interesting to see. Let me hear about how you guys are feeling, because we're going to continue to make videos about that. Like, as these things progress, as we get closer to that, we're going to be keeping our eyes on these picks that the Spurs have, not just this year coming up, but the future picks, the future years as well. So, man, there's a lot of things to look forward to. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that doorbell to be notified every time we post. For Spurs Digest, this is a Spurs Digest post-game show. I am Bryan Colbert. Until next time, we will holla at y'all when the San Antonio Spurs take on the Memphis Grizzlies.